RCTP Level 3 Mental Part 4. Here we see a picture of Trevor climbing, and you notice that he's not wearing a shirt, so he was actually a little nervous of scraping himself on the wall. But you might also notice that underneath his arm right here, he has a bit of a rope burn, so he fell earlier that week at our indoor gym, and he got a rope burn all along the side of his shoulder there, and right underneath his armpit. And so when he was climbing this route, he was a little bit afraid, and he decided before he left the ground that if he was going to fall, he was going to jump back so that he didn't scrape himself along the wall and didn't injure himself. Now, the ironic part about all of this is that he chose to jump back because he thought that he wasn't going to injure himself, and I'm belaying him, and I watch him fall, and he jumps back, and then I feel no tension in the rope. And what ended up happening was that he fell into a tree. So that was a new experience for me as a belayer. I checked to make sure he was okay, and then I started dying of laughter. And then, we eventually got him down. But this is just one instance to show you that being afraid and doing things that you think are going to make you safer, rather than listening to the age-old wisdom of how to lead safely. And so by jumping off the wall because you think it's going to be safer if I jump off the wall, can actually injure you. And so you don't want to be letting your fear control your actions. Listen to your training. Step 15, you might have a fear of rope position and falling upside down. So you need to learn and practice what is your rope position, but more importantly, learn how to wear a helmet. For learning the rope position, you can see an image of me here climbing. And what you want to do is you want to have the wall, then the rope, then your body. So if you have the rope close to your foot, you want to have the rope in between the wall and your foot. You might have noticed that in older pictures of me climbing, here I am on the left without a helmet, and in newer pictures of me climbing, here I am with money, not a student, not broke, poor, and I bought a helmet. Step 16, you might have a fear of being high above a clip. This mostly happens indoors. It can sometimes happen outdoors, but what you might do to compensate for this is you might high clip a lot. You're not clipping at a good position. You just, as soon as you can just basically clip, you clip right away. Okay, so what do we have here? We have either a fear of a long distance fall, so you're like, whoa, this is going to be a really long fall, so I'm going to clip right away. Or you have a fear of a rope position, you're like, you know what, I always want to make sure that that rope's always in a really good position. You can have that. Or what you might have is just some unconscious feeling that you think you're not okay if you're high above your clip. So if you have that and you're like, I don't even know why I would be nervous in this position, you're like, okay, am I okay with falling a long distance? You're like, yep, check, I'm okay with falling a long distance. Okay, do I have a fear of a rope position? No, my rope's all good. So there's no reason for you to be afraid now of being high above your clip. Step 17, fear of the unknown. Okay, outdoors, the way that you might experience this is that you might not see what the next move is. You might not know where your next clip is or next anchoring position, but you're like, okay, I'm just gonna have to stand up and hope that I see what I'm supposed to do next and go anyways. So when you do this, it's really just committing to the move and knowing that if you fall, your gear has you and your belayer has you. Indoors, this will be the setter put like a forced move, and you are forced to commit into an unsure move, and you don't really know if you can reverse it into a secure position. So you're going to just have to commit and hope that you purchase the next hold, that you grab it and you're secure. So what do we do with both of these? Again, trust your gear, trust your belayer. What you can do is if you're still a little unsure before you commit to these moves, you can run through a diagnostic, so a little checklist, and you can say, okay, I'm going to be okay because my rope's good, my belayer's good, we checked before I left the ground, everything's all good, I have nothing to worry about here. And once you've done that, you've actually removed not knowing anything. So you now know what to expect if you fall. Therefore, you now actually know something, so there is no longer reason to have a fear of the unknown because you actually know something. Step 18, fear of polished or slick holds. So most of the time you feel like this because you don't think that you have control over where you're going to move. And the real only fear that you have in this position is to have a fear of a rope position. So as long as you like look down and you're like, okay, these holds are a little bit slick and slippery, but my rope's good, don't worry about it, keep going. The second part is you need to have a set it and forget it attitude. Go to the next hold. Okay, so just, okay, I put my foot, yes, this is slippery. I put my hand, yes, this is, polished. I'm just gonna go anyway. And readjusting a lot can actually make us sloppy climbers, and it can make us over grip. It can start to lead to a lot of different other things that can start to just break down your climbing to the point where you're going to fall. So you weren't going to fall in the polished hold, but because you're now afraid of the polished hold and you're adjusting your climbing and with all these little micro adjustments, those little micro adjustments are going to be the thing that make you fall. Step 19, fear of not knowing if you can make a clip. So the first part, see fear of rope position. If your rope's good, just be like, okay, yeah, even if I don't make it, my fall's fine. Don't high clip. It will be a better fall if you don't make it. So when you're high clipping, you're pulling through all this rope, and at the same time, your belayer is giving you a lot more slack. And so if you do fall, you're probably going to take a pretty big and bad fall versus just actually standing up another foot or another like half a meter is not going to be that big of a deal. And then you can clip it at that position. Let's watch Brian get out of his head and make this clip. So he goes up and he's kind of like, all right, I'm going to need to have a better foot position. So he just uses his calf muscle. Boom. Look, now he's locked into the wall and he could clip. If he tried to put his foot there, it might actually be a little too unstable for him. So he decided to use his calf muscle instead. Have a set it and forget it attitude. So you need to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay, as you start to progress, we even call these like sometimes outdoor footholds, and we're like, yep, that is so thin, but I'm just gonna use it because that's all I got. So if you're afraid of making that clip, you're like, yep, this is what I got, just set it, forget it, and go and clip. Have the attitude that I will make this clip. So sometimes I'm on it and I'm like, I'm not going to fall. I'm going to make this freaking clip and I don't care. And I will like super power and through it. And yeah, you kind of sometimes just have to have that attitude. I will freaking make this clip. Okay, and finally, know that you put yourself into an okay position and clip. So this would be like combating your fear of the unknown. So if you're like, well, I don't really know if this is going to be good for me, just be like, yep, this position's fine. So I'm just going to clip and let's keep going. Step 20, fear of leading in general. So be honest to yourself. Really ask the question like, do you want to lead? If you really want to lead, do it. Find a way to make it happen. And if you're really not comfortable with it, just don't do it. I know you might not hear this from a lot of climbers, but I want you to just remember to enjoy climbing. It doesn't have to be a very stressful experience. And some people don't multi-pitch because they find it unsafe. Whenever I talk around here about like doing big walls, some people are like, yeah, I'm never going to do a big wall because I find that to be very unsafe. So it can be the same thing with leading. You might be like, you know what, I'm just really not comfortable with it. And that's okay. The other thing is to become okay with multi-pitch bouldering. There's no shame in it. There's no ego. So what is multi-pitch bouldering? It's going up to your first clip. You clip in, you ask for a take. Go up to your second clip, you clip in, you ask for a take, and you keep repeating this pattern. You pretty much are taking every clip. You know, when I was first dealing with this mental stress, I did multi-pitch bouldering, whatever. And thirdly, try to create a lead cutoff of anything like 6 grades below your max top rope. So example, like all 5/8 and lower climbs will be lead only. I'm not going to top rope these. And finally, step 21, fear of leading moderate to difficult climbs for you. So as an example, this would be like you can top rope a 511B, but you have a fear at leading at a 510 CD level. Okay, first thing, just lead your top rope level. So if you can top rope a 511B, just lead that 511B. The reason for this is that you have to climb your best and you don't have time for fear. And it's okay to not make it to the top, but you just gotta like keep going. Now, remember, if you're climbing indoors, it's real easy to bail on an indoor climb than it is to bail on an outdoor climb. So just lead your top rope level. It's not a big deal. A metaphor for this is that think about going to a lake, and some people, you know, they want to put their toe in the lake first because it's a little cold, and then they'll slowly start to put their foot in the lake, and then they'll slowly start to put, you know, part of their leg in the lake, and they keep just very gently going in, versus other people just run off the dock, jump and do a giant cannonball and splash into the lake. So this is the main reason to just lead your top rope level. Just go all in and just jump in and start leading it. Okay, another one is decide while you're climbing to think about climbing and don't think about falling. This is a technique Renee uses. She's just like, I'm just going to climb right now. Forget it. And that's what she focuses on. So if you're thinking about falling, it might actually cause you to fall. Whereas when you're thinking about climbing, you're just going to climb. Now, if you've ever been in this moment, the best climbs come when you're in the zone and you don't even notice where your clip is. You're just climbing. You're like, oh crap, I have a clip here. Okay, maybe I should do it.